and welcome to Sitecore Standard Values podcast. I am your host, Rick Bauer, Director of Customer Transformation at Sitecore. In this podcast, we continually seek to provide deeper insights into the value of Sitecore as a solution to business problems. With regular episodes from me in the US and my counterpart, Sultan, in the Netherlands, we will alternate to bring you a variety of guests to share their global perspectives and experiences through a rich tapestry of discussion, opinion, and thought experiments. My guest today is Steve Davis, Vice President of Engineering for Commerce at Sitecore, basketball referee, and owner of School of Rock. Steve, welcome to Sitecore Standard Values. While I do want to know, first of all, if you get to hang on to the referee shirt and pants for parties, we'll come to that later. As a fellow musician, I have to start with the School of Rock. How did that happen? And you can please just briefly tell us a little bit about that.
Sure. Well, first off, it's Eden Prairie in Minnesota is my location. But I'm just a huge fan of music. Somebody who wished they had the opportunity to learn to play instruments when they were a kid, but was shoved into sports. And the business opportunity presented itself. And I just thought it would be a really fun side project to be part of. And it's been very fruitful to this point.
I'll bet. I mean, it's nice to be able to watch students music, I feel, is something that influences the entire rest of your life. You know, like it certainly helps with creativity, confidence, business, everything. It kind of permeates throughout. So that's awesome that you're doing that.
Thanks.
Okay, so let's why we are here. Let's talk Sitecore. And specifically, we're going to be focused today largely on Order Cloud, or what was 451, which I believe is around 8 years old now.
The product Order Cloud is a little over 8 years old, publicly 8 years old.
Okay.
451 as a company was founded in 1999.
Okay.
By Rich Land and Mark Johnson. So.
Okay. All right. Thank you for that clarity. So, so the product, 8 years old now, 2015 or so, or like when the rest of us were deciding whether the dress was gold or blue. I don't remember if you remember that meme, but that's kind of around that era. That's a while ago. Why did you decide to pursue a headless strategy at that time? Because Order Cloud is a headless software solution. Yeah,
and at the time nothing was called headless.
Right.
It was, it was a sort of a confluence of different events. One, as a SaaS platform, multi-tenant SaaS platform, we served a lot of customers, and the requests that they were bringing to us were very much focused around designing the experience, customizing it to their needs. And so our roadmap was filled with just UI customization projects. We weren't necessarily focusing directly in the commerce as much as we would have liked to have addressed. But at the same time, mobile started to proliferate. And now we were being asked to redesign a very large application to work on a mobile device. So these things started to become challenges that we were addressing in pieces. And one of the biggest changes was the introduction of Ajax into our modern development processes.
Okay.
And that was a way for the browser to call to the server in a new fashion. But the key to that was having nice, clean APIs to interface with. And as we began to build some of the tooling around that, what we kind of came to the conclusion of was, we could address a broader market with this tremendous amount of customization flexibility by truly decoupling the front end from the back end and going to market with a pure API project. And that's when Order Cloud, really the birth of that notion, came to light. And we enticed some customers early to take that journey with us, which has proven to be very beneficial to them. And that's sort of the origins of how we came about it. Now, as the years have gone on, terms like headless have come about, and composable, but those have followed us through our journey to where we are today.
Yeah, and composable, that's a term that, especially in the Sitecore space, anyone that's been to SugCon or DX Summit or Symposium, they've heard probably more than enough. But for any non-technical folks out there, what are some of the key principles of composability in software engineering, and how does Order Cloud adhere to these principles?
Yeah, and this was the topic of my talk at SugCon in Malaga. But researching this Gardner really was some of the forerunners of defining composability, but it was revolved around business strategy, not necessarily software strategy, but they can apply. And the key principles are modularity, autonomy, orchestration, and discovery. Which, as we started to research this, we started to understand, hey, we kind of do fit into this bucket very well, having been there before these things became, a common nomenclature for software operations. But what we do at Order Cloud is we try to make sure we stay true to our intent and purpose. Mm-hmm. We are a commerce transactional order capture system. If a request comes to us to store content, we point to the right content providers and explain how you can orchestrate the integrations between those systems. And it's very sometimes hard over the years to explain why that was a valuable aspect of the architecture of solutions, right? So Order Cloud is not like Shopify, where you're getting the entire chunk in one software package. We are a component of the overall solution. We expect to be a piece of those. Sure. And early on diagrams, would be Order Cloud at the heart with tax and payments and content around it as satellites. And I said, no, actually, the experience is the heart. And Order Cloud is one of the satellites. And how we function between those pieces is critical to the solution. But then, finally, with composability, discovery is key. So right off the bat, we said, let's make this open, register for free, mm-hmm. provide a sandbox for free, experiment, play, learn, have documentation that's high quality, have it automated. So whenever we do a release, which we do very frequently, that documentation is updated immediately. Those are, in my opinion, fundamental principles of being a composable system. And we see that coming together all the time. Just yesterday, Sitecore announced Order Cloud library for our Connect product. Well, That was not something that me and my team had to even work on, because the principles of composability were already there, and that system was able to consume them and create that orchestration, which is the value proposition of composability. So.
Yeah, that speed of truly headless and API first, of a platform like Order Cloud are that's got to be a key benefit. Are there other key value benefits in utilizing a truly headless API first platform?
Yeah, it's the value proposition that we really drive towards is to allow our customers to own their own roadmap. What we understand is that we can't tell well-structured, highly successful businesses how to operate their commerce. Yeah. They need to tell us. And they do that by configuring within the flexibility of Order Cloud's model their business processes into ours, rather than us forcing our opinion on them. And that extends into the experience. It extends into the integrations and the fulfillment and the payments and the taxes that go into how they operate. And so being able to demonstrate to customers, you own this now. This is your business. This is not ours, has been what I think is the most crucial aspect of success for Order Cloud. And it's a differentiator, because we've gone through the history of, well, show me what you have out of the box, to people coming and saying and understanding already that full principle of, how do I apply my business to your software?
Yeah, and that out of the box piece, I know, is sometimes a struggle for an API first, and I think that that sandbox offering that we have and the ability to spin that up for our technical team has got to be a good way for people to start to say, hey, what does this look like for me? Let me play with this a little bit. So I'm sure that's probably a first stop or an early stop in that journey.
Yeah, and sometimes it's the hill that's climbed quickly to realize, oh wait, I already just completed building a catalog, submitting an order, and I've only spent a day in the software system. So what else can I do? And then the imagination starts to take hold, and the understanding that Order Cloud is not an impediment to achieving those goals, but it provides efficiencies to run quickly and to iterate fast and
Sure.
move ahead.
Acceleration, quite the opposite. Yeah. Yeah, well, that imagination, I would say, is probably rampant in the team that's building and enhancing the platform. So how does your team manage the roadmap and decide how to enhance on what is Order Cloud today?
Yeah, that's such a common question. One, it begins with the fact that we are a very mature DevOps team. We measure ourselves against the DOOR metrics, and that is exposed and demonstrated by our frequency of releases. So, we're approaching 300 total releases since the birth of Order Cloud, and those are they range from large features that took a few months to build to, hey, there's a bug and it gets fixed the same day that it's logged, right? Being able to do that allows us then to respond to our customers. So if a customer comes and says, hey, I really need this, we can evaluate it as in sort of three categories. One, is it a quick fix we can do right now and deploy? Is it something that's an enhancement to an existing feature that may take a week to complete? Or is it a brand new, never touched before feature that may take a month or two? We get those into those cycles and we iterate quickly. But you can see nothing really ever takes more than a couple months. Subscriptions recently released this year, that was a massive feature. It had hundreds of touch points in the platform. And we got that done over a 3-month period of time out into it. But the key to all of that is the comfort that we are not going to introduce breaking changes to our customers because we are multi-tenant, and that customers do not have to adapt and adopt those features until they choose to. And having a really robust test suite in a number of different strategies behind that with integration tests and unit tests informs us and gives us that security to do it. And so as roadmap comes about, we have a bucket of ideas that we iterate over and we think on and we scope and we plan. But we don't just build features for the sake of building features. We build them for the sake of a customer need. So sometimes they sit on the shelf as we wait, and a customer comes and says, hey, now we need this. We vet the requirements and we produce it quickly. So do we have a 5-year roadmap? It's not documented. We have 5-year strategy concepts and understanding and how the things like we talked about with composability are factors in that. And so it's more about principles of roadmap, where we want to be more integratable. We want to have more hooks and levers to work within those composable solutions. Specifics to those flesh out as we move between each iteration of work that we perform. So
there, yeah, wow. I mean, that's, and it's been clear ever since my introduction to Order Cloud that it's definitely built to handle just about anything. And it's built upon the, commerce is complex, right? And there's that nature of complexity to it. So if you're evaluating and looking for something that can handle complex solutions, absolutely understand Order Cloud. But how can the solution provide for maybe less complicated scenarios, maybe just a basic B2C or something simpler than, is there a use case there?
Yeah, B2B is complex, right? There's a lot that goes on behind that. Yep. But how it manifests into the buying experience is made simple through what we call our me endpoints. So I'm being represented as myself in a buying experience. I know what products I have access to. I know what the pricing of those things are, and I know how I need to check out. Yeah. It's the same experience that everybody expects, whether they're a business buying or it's a consumer buying. That's that world of I'm going online shopping is very consistent across most platforms. So when you bring together those two things, they start to blur. I've really kind of started saying, look, the B's don't matter. Sometimes the B2C is extremely complex. Right. Sometimes they're mixed together. We have a company, a customer that's a florist. So obviously they sell Mother's Day bouquets to the general consumer, but they have funeral homes ordering in mass bulk. They have grocery stores ordering to stock their shelves with those. And to be able to operate in those, connected experiences based on who you are is key. So B2C, while being a simple fulfillment and purchase model, has complexities. Mm-hmm. But also as you drive forward to say, well, now I need to entice and promote and upsell and work with, growing my revenue through this channel. So we talk about some of the product portfolio of Sitecore, like Discover. It starts to bring about a more enhanced experience that you can manage. And that's where a lot of B2C functionality is thought of, but it applies in the B2B world too. And so it's a blurred line, in my opinion, now. And Order Cloud absolutely can fulfill on each of those models, but they can also join them together in a way that eliminates some of the overhead of management that goes into a normal e-commerce operation.
Yeah, and then even complexity of something like a marketplace, and that's even another lens that I imagine you could look at it through.
Sure.
Fascinating, and it's exciting to watch and exciting to see out there. And I encourage anybody that's wanting to learn more. Definitely, we have information on Sitecore's website, and certainly have the ability to spin up a sandbox and play with it and just try it, take it for a test drive, if you will. But I mean, there's
and we have a lot of published tools. We have starter applications. We have SDKs. We have developer tools that help and get you moving quicker through that process. And soon to be, we're going to have released business user tools, which will allow non-developers to go in and start interacting with the API without being forced into an opinion of how commerce should operate. And they can start to get the feel of creating solutions without needing to code.
That's great. I mean, obviously the business users do matter in amongst this. Absolutely we need the developers, but we need the business decision makers to have a feel for it and understand it. So that's wonderful news.
Yep.
All right. Final question. This is a common question we ask every one of our guests. Steve Davis, what is your standard value?
It's a good question, and it's hard to answer at times, right? I think the hat of VP that I wear now, but being a leader of a team of people who are independent and professional and intelligent, I think the principle that I think of most common in that environment is trust and autonomy. So allow them to bring forward ideas and how they can solve problems that I will bring from customers and from partners and people that I interact with, and let them solve for them. I think that's how Order Cloud became what I consider to be a brilliant platform, is because we let smart people decide and make smart decisions. And so for me, I don't know if it's a single word principle, but that's sort of how I feel like I like to operate. And I think it is brought forward through the team's understanding of that, appreciation and respect, a mutual respect between the two.
I mean, there's the music right there. You're playing a little jazz, or you have to trust your fellow musician, and creativity is spawned by being able to potentially make mistakes. And sometimes those mistakes are the best things. And I love that message. Trust and autonomy.
Keeping the beat, right? Keep that beat, keep everybody in line, but let them play around and move within
it. Improvise. Absolutely. Love it. All right. Well, thank you, Steve. Thank you for joining me for this episode of Sitecore Standard Values. I look forward to seeing you soon. I know I will see you soon in Minneapolis, but I appreciate you being a guest on this episode, and we'll talk to you soon. Thank you.
All right. Thank you.